right? Just like anything else, as far as that goes. So seers live on the trust of their clients. They really do. If trust is unlimited, it does not matter much whether they succeed or not. The person will already suggest himself defending the predictions and so forth. The seers in the present time enjoy prestige. Virtually all world leaders, rulers, counselors, bankers, they constantly consult their trusted visionaries to feel secure about the future and the near future as far as that goes. They have diverse ways of seeing the future. Some dream with the symbology of the same. They make their predictions. Others have visions while awake. Clear visions with images, which we then interpret in a different way. Others use tarot cards, read lines of hands, etc., etc. The first most famous seer, of course, that leads the list is Nostradamus. It can't be missed, of course. He himself said, "I'm not a prophet," and did not guarantee that his prophecies would be fulfilled. But his prophecies are still used today to explain the most amazing and terrible acts and facts. Some of his visions, which many still hope to happen, are still to come. Great earthquake in the U.S., people will refuse to pay taxes. There will be a great tribulation. The world economy will collapse. That's a real possibility. The sky will open. The fields will be burned in the heat. The advance in medicine will achieve that human lives, that we may live to some 200 years old or more. Wouldn't that be nice? There will be a large eruption of the Vesuvius volcano. And disappearing differences between language, thanks to a machine that will translate everything into a universal language. And we're going to get back to him after a bit here. It has, and of course, Nostradamus has very prestigious defenders that many historical events are predicted by Nostradamus. Among some of the others that did happen, the Great Fire of London, Second World War, the birth and fall of Hitler, 9/11, the death of Princess Diana. And we're going to get back to him and discuss him much further. The second seer was Cassandra. She's from Greek mythology. Cassandra was a priestess of Apollo and came to an agreement with him to grant him the gift of prophecy in return for a encounter with him. Cassandra was granted the gift, but she refused her part of the bargain, and he rejected her. And he was furious at the betrayal. That meant she kept her gift of a prophet, but from that time on, no one would believe her. So he kind of put the kibosh on her. Knowing the truth, but no one believed, was the particular tragedy suffered by Cassandra. The next one is Criswell, seer and futurist. He began in a surprising way. He worked as a weatherman. There you go. Criswell, he started out as a weatherman on a television, and one day he could not remember live the forecast he had read for the next day. He had to improvise a prognosis and was totally correct. From that day alone, he gave his predictions in that way, improvising, achieving many more hits that most of your orthodox meteorologists. Hi, Ike. How are you? Do you believe in seers? Tellers of the future? I don't know. I think many. I think it could be that people, I think some people, okay, good, finish up and get back here. I know the feeling. I think some people can be, but I think that's because both halves of their brains work. You know what I mean? That we don't. Only part of our brains work. I think it's the right half, I believe. I'm not, don't quote me on that, but I believe it's the right half that does work. If we use the left half, we could be, they say we could do unknown things. So that's real possible. But Criswell, from that day forward, gave his predictions in the same way, achieving many more hits than the regular meteorologist. He accurately predicted Kennedy's death in 1963. But so did Jean Dixon. Do you know that name, Jean Dixon? She was a famous astrologist. She wrote the newspapers, Jean Dixon. So we'll get to her, too. But he accurately predicted Kennedy's death in 1963, as did she. He said that in 1970, Fidel Castro would be killed by a woman, and actress Mae West would be the first woman president of the United States. That would have been interesting. In 1983, many women would remain bald in the city of San Luis due to toxic fumes. Then, within a few days of that event, there would be long queues of men in the courts demanding the divorce of their bald women. Wouldn't that? Now, that's a little far-fetched. These and other follies, more absurd, were expected to happen. At least to its thousands of followers. Criswell died before the dates on which his prophecies had to be fulfilled, but it saved embarrassment for him. Madame Lenormand. She was the seer of Napoleon. Madame Gilbert taught her the divination techniques of the tarot. Then he set up his own seer cabinet. In this place, he met three famous characters of the French Revolution: Robespierre, and Saint Just, to whom he predicted a violent death. And this caused the authorities to suspect her and was arrested. She would be the confidant of Josephine and be her personal fortune teller, as well as of Napoleon, though he had little faith in fortune tellers. After his divorce from Josephina, he dictated laws against seers in general. I just don't think he liked what she had to say, and maybe she was accurate and he didn't like it, so it's hard telling. But seers and fortune tellers and such go back many, many years. Next one up is Joan Quigley. She was private astrologer to President Ronald Reagan. If that name rings a bell, that's why. This man, President Reagan, would reveal in his memoirs that most transcendent decisions he made were made in agreement with the astrologer, who always looked at whether the alignments of the planets were correct. So that's an interesting fact, and he was one of our best presidents, I thought. So he had a private astrologer, Joan Quigley. Before the scandal that this revelation was supposed, Nancy Reagan 2 years later denied that this had been true, basically, taking away the importance to the figure of Joan. But Joan said that the press conferences, as well as the departure times of the presidential plane and many other details of protocol, were fixed according to her predictions that she consulted. So there you go. Edgar Cayce. So was she, why, she's no reason to lie about this. I mean, she's not a household name per se. So Joan Quigley, though, yeah, she was Reagan's personal astrologer. We have Edgar Cayce next. 1877 to 1945. He was an American seer who had the ability to answer questions on different subjects after entering a hypnotic trance. Do you believe in clairvoyance and hypnosis too? Interesting. Answer questions on different subjects after entering a hypnotic trance. These responses were known as readings of lives and made them while in a state of hypnosis. But at the same time he answered, he guessed the state of health of the person asking the question. He's considered the father of holistic medicine and one of the main psychics of the 20th century. He practiced regressions to past lives, something so fashionable in the present age, but not so much during his day. He was visited by thousands of people who were looking for him to help them with their unsolvable problems. So that was Edgar Cayce. Boy, can you imagine him in this time? He'd be a very, very rich man. There's some other little types of seers all around. How about Rasputin? Oh, who could forget Rasputin, right? Of course he's in this. He was a Russian monk who ended up being decisive in world history. A hole was made in the court of the last Tsars of Russia with Nikolai II. His advice and decisions were very much taken into account. He was considered a mystic and had the ability to heal and see the future. The great confidence placed on him by the Tsarina, was due to alleviate the disease of the sun. And he suffered from hemophilia, which is like the bleeding death. He gets cut or something, he could die. He was a hemophiliac. So that was placed upon him. It was to heal him. And the truth is that the child, after passing through the hands of the mad monk, improved. And from then on, Rasputin would be an important part in the palaces of the Tsar. Supposedly, he got credited for this. I don't know if it was him or not, but, we'll never know. He entrenched himself in the Tsar's court, so there you go. It even went so far as to appoint senior government officials. A conspiracy of several nobles ended his life. But killing him was very complicated. They poisoned him, but he did not fall. He was then shot, but he rose and fled, terrifying his murderers, who did not conceive that a man with much venom in his stomach and several bullets in his body could continue walking. He was finally captured and thrown into the Neva River in St. Petersburg. They did not quite convince themselves of his death. But yeah, that was the mad monk, Rasputin. He's got a real colorful history, doesn't he? He's a piece of work. There's some little-known seers I'm trying to find. But those were the most famous ones that... excuse me. This weather is driving me crazy. So do you think seers can exist, or is it just a 50-50 chance? Is it just a chance that they get it right because they got a 50% chance of it? It either is or either isn't. So just real quick, I'm going to go over some what they call soothsayers or seers. Beware the Ides of March. If Caesar had just taken heed of that warning he received the day he was assassinated, I mean, you don't. If he did that, he